I hear some people saying like the Patriots. This is how they usually operate. I don't agree with that. There's people here at the station and fans that don't like what they're doing. How are you reading this free agency period?
So I'm a little surprised at how slow things have gone. I think that's also reflective of the market, right? Like we're on day 3 of Marquise Brown, who is probably the number 2 receiver, still available. And part of that is positional spending. Other parts are just how the Patriots have operated. And I would agree that they've operated similar in a way that Belichick used to, where you would wait out the first few hours, which I described as a sucker's lounge in my column yesterday. And that's where teams, get hurt in free agency. We all did this with Jonnu Smith and Nelson Aguilar a couple of years ago. And then you pounce more on day 2. Where I am surprised is that they've not added as many players on the outside. Like this is a front office that understood, and a coaching staff, a new coaching staff that comes in. You're talking to people at the combine going, so what do you think? They go, well, we have a lot of work to do. And they're not adding in a way that would reflect that. I think it'll come, but clearly they prioritize their in-house free agents even more than folks like me and others who have talked to the front office and understood, okay, here's the plan going in. No, they really want to run it back with a lot of the guys that they had set to hit free agency.
But that's different than Belichick, right? Keeping your own guys?
No, I think he prioritized the familiarity, and it was different in the sense that, and Elliot Wolf has spoken to this, it was about fit. What can you do here in this specific role that makes my system go? And so, even someone pushed back on the idea, because I said this about Mike Onwenu, Belichick would never re-up him. He would just trade him away. He would draft somebody else. Shaq Mason got a huge extension in 2018 as a right guard. Joe Thuney got the franchise tag in 2020 as a left guard, and the Patriots still tried to extend him in 2021 and couldn't do it because he just wanted to win Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes. So Belichick offered not only just second contracts, big second contracts to offensive guards, keep your own. I think what the Patriots are doing are just trying to keep the foundation here, something that for the most part was just kind of taken for granted in New England because that foundation's name was Tom Brady.
But having said all of that, that's the move to make at this point. This is a slow, methodical, calculated move by a new regime, but it's necessary.
Yes, I agree. And the other part for folks who are still itching, like sign more, where are the receivers, where are the tight ends, give me the offensive tackles. Well, let's step back for a second, because if you were studying the market, not even closely, you just looked at lists of free agents who were available. Who's the top receiver available? Calvin Ridley. Okay, he has not signed yet. And it seems to be using the Patriots for leverage, though I can tell you they are pursuing him with an aggressive offer. Who is the top tight end? Well, it was Hunter Henry. He's here. And who is arguably one of the top 3 offensive linemen? It was Mike Onwenu. So they've hit all of their weaknesses in a way that I get is underwhelming and doesn't really satisfy you. But there's more time to go in free agency. And with a rebuild, as always, the biggest pieces are going to have to come in the draft.
By the way, I wouldn't touch Marquise Brown. I want nothing to do with Marquise Brown. I have no idea why he's a desirable free agent.
What did he do to you, Fred? What happened?
Well, I mean, he didn't do anything to me, but I mean, he's got long hair.
Oh,
I mean, I would imagine he's kind of a hippie.
Oh yeah.
No, he's not good. He's never had that good a season. He's not a good player.
I mean, the long hair hurts me for obvious reasons. But he did have a 1,000-yard season. It was just a couple years ago with the Ravens and their kind of run-heavy offense. Then he's been banged up with the Cardinals. I think if he did land him, he's not going to be your number 1. But
Patriots, I wouldn't want him. I draft the kid. I mean, you can't draft the kid better than Marquise Brown, honestly. Andrew, you can't draft a kid in the second or third round,
especially this year,
that can catch 67, 51 passes.
I mean, we're talking about the Patriots here, right? Aren't we?
Well, it's a different regime. How dare you?
Something, and that's the regime is what I think gets lost a little bit in some of this, Andrew. As you're building this team, and it might be a bit of a methodical process. I think of it as being really smart to not go crazy in free agency or do anything really drastic, because you've got a new head coach in every sense of the word new. You've got a new staff. You've got a new way of doing things. Let's see how this plays out with retaining some of our own guys, keeping some consistency on the roster,
and getting young and drafting and playing kids, giving guys an opportunity instead of having a 32-year-old journeyman at a position. Why don't you have a kid that maybe, what round was Onwenu drafted in? The 6th round.
Sixth round, 2020.
Yeah, yes. Right. So why don't you have a 6th round pick? Try to get the next Onwenu. Like, right? Like, why fill a position with a mediocre older player, or even a good player at the end of their career who's not going to be around for when you're good, when that prohibits a kid from playing.
And blow a bunch of money on it putting someone into a system though that is brand new. It's like, let's see how this works first before we start going hog wild.
Andrew, we're just throwing takes at you left and right. Haymaker.
No, I like it. And to that point, I think that's the most underrated part of the rebuild is the playing of football, right? Like getting those players to develop. They can talk about OTAs and minicamp and training camp and the preseason all you want. That's not when the bullets fly. That's not when it really counts. That's not when you're doing the growing that's going to serve you in year 2 and year 3, whether they're rookies, whether they're second-year players, hello, Keon White, and others on the roster. Like that's the biggest part of the rebuild. You're not going to fix your team in one offseason when you're 4-13 and you've had a string of bad drafts that go back almost a decade here. And there have been exceptions. Christian Gonzalez could be a great pick. I will say though, again, to the Belichick comparison, you look at the outside players they brought in. Jacoby Brissett, familiar to him, former Patriots draft pick. Antonio Gibson, described to me as a former Patriots player I was texting with 2 days ago. Versatile, but not a game changer. I said, I thought Bill was gone. And then you have Sione Takitaki, who comes in as a replacement for Mac Wilson at about half the cost, but brings a similar value. So there's still very much a value-based approach. I think the biggest difference with the new regime you will see, as you guys just said, they're going to play the kids, and they're going to do it all year next season because they know that's where the real development happens.
They still have a chance to make one splashy signing. You brought it up earlier, Calvin Ridley. And it seems, just looking at it, that he wants to go back to Jacksonville and is using the Patriots to get the price as high as possible. What kind of numbers are we talking about here?
Certainly north of 20 million. I'm not saying that is hard reporting. I think you just look at it as far as the market goes, and some reporting that my excellent colleague at the Herald, Doug Kai, did yesterday, where the Patriots are sniffing around Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, which I think a lot of teams should do. The Chargers are trying to jiggle every lock and window to get out of cap hell before we get to 4 p.m. here today, and trading one of those guys would really help a lot. But the more important point is each of those guys makes north of 20 million. And that's a going rate for receivers who are, top 15, top 20. So if this is a bidding war, the big winner is going to be Calvin Ridley because he'll be in that range as kind of a 1B. It's just the way the market is.
I like to jiggle locks with effort of getting in and sniffing around.
Sniffing around has to be what, like top 5, top 3 strangest free agency term? Like that, none of us are sniffing around in our day-to-day lives. I mean, this is a dog behavior.
Yeah, I am though. So what about the idea? I just got to bring it up to you because it's a lot of talk about it on the station. Just Justin Fields, for some reason. And by the way, the league seems just enamored with him. I mean, the people have been, the teams are falling all over themselves to get him. Why is there a fascination in some sports media with Justin Fields?
I have no idea. I really don't. And I think if you're referring to Felger, I said this on his television.
It's more than Felger, but go ahead. Yeah.
Well, sure. So, but I said it to his face on his show a couple of weeks ago, saying he was bottom 3rd in every single meaningful quarterback category last year in year 3 as a passer, and had a better offensive line the Patriots have here, had a better skill position player in DJ Moore, and you could include Ramondre Stevenson in that, and still couldn't get it done. You don't have questions about a veteran quarterback after year 3 and then suddenly answer them in year 4 or 5. More to the point, he was 30 to 32nd in the 4th quarter, again, of every single meaningful category for a quarterback: QBR, touchdown to interception ratio, a completion percentage. Like, this is a guy who gets worse when you know he has to throw. And it's a bummer that Chicago is a place where quarterbacks go to die. But you're not getting them revived in New England or really anywhere else in the league, because I'll tell you this, the Bears have been trying to trade him for days, if not weeks. Like, their minds are made up and they have no takers. That's how the NFL feels about Justin Fields, and it's how you should feel about him too.
I mean, and the Vikings are very well I think they're going into this season starting Sam Darnold as their quarterback. I mean, I do believe that. I think that
or they'll really reach for a quarterback at 11 and try desperately to trade up for one.
Yeah, but I still think Sam Darnold starts the season as their quarterback. I think he's their starting quarterback. They valued Sam Darnold, and they're paying him. They're paying him $9 million. They want Sam Darnold. And by the way, Andrew, the point I've been making is, say that Fields becomes something, but even if the guy you take at 3 is the same as Justin Fields, and talent-wise, you don't have to pay him. That's the
Yes.
thing is you're going to have to pay Fields. There's not one reason I could see getting Justin Fields right now, giving up an asset for him. And I guess the Bears, according to their beat writer, one of their beat writers wanted a second rounder for him. So, I mean, that's ridiculous. It's
not going to happen. And you're absolutely right because, hey, you go, okay, Justin Fields is an exciting player. And I'm not going to argue with that. I mean, he beat the Patriots badly in that Monday night game 2 years ago. I'm rooting for him. I thought he would be a good quarterback coming out. I was wrong. But the fact of the matter is, signing him now for one cost-controlled year, and then you either have to pick up the fifth-year option or then extend him, just expedites this timeline where we were just applauding the Patriots for taking it slow.
Yeah.
And we all want them to win as soon as possible. If you're a fan or if you're into exciting football, you just want to see some points scored like I do. But he's not going to be a part of that equation. And I think when you draft a quarterback, not only do you get time to develop him on your terms with fresh talent, but you give him a longer runway that he deserves, and the Patriots have right now. Take advantage of that time and that runway.
And by the way, these teams weren't enamored with Fields coming out of college either. I mean,
No.
he went 11th in that draft, and they've all done their research, and they all have evaluated him since he was a kid. They don't want him. The people don't want him. So, I mean, the Patriots are the last team that should be investing in Justin Fields. They have the third pick of the draft. Let him take a kid. And if the kid doesn't pan out, then you wasted the pick, but you didn't put yourself in some kind of cap hell or give up an asset for no reason. I mean, at least you can try to develop the kid. All right, Andrew Callahan, read him in the Boston Herald. Thank you for the time, sir.
You got it. Anytime, fellas.
All right, we appreciate it. There you go, Andrew Callahan.